You're listening to AM Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, as we are now 7 minutes past the top of the 10 o'clock hour. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday, April 1st, as we've had a good show for you here so far as we're moving right along with it, just to get you through this week, to get through all of what we need to in lieu of this COVID-19 crap, as it is a little bit, as we're adjusting. Everybody's adjusting, doing what we need to do. We just had on, for the last hour there, we had the beginning with Robert Colin on Top of the World, in lieu of everything that's going on, to direct the conversation to the work that's still being done with the On Top of the World community, building the aquatic center, and having Jim Walkup talk about the expectations of that, and just incredible stuff, thinking about the opportunities within Marion County to have something like that. Like we said, on a world concept of swimming and equestrian right here in Marion County, of all places here in Central Florida, and talking with them that too, the idea of the charter school that'll be coming up along with that, and within the next couple of years, having that stuff brought to fruition is pretty exciting. And then after that, we had Laura Burns with our friends at Career Source, Marion Citrus and Levy, talking about all of the stuff that's transpired within the last month of what they're doing with job placement, and with the help of all that, and then those adjustments needing to be made, or those being able to adapt, as she was talking, a lot of information that they're doing to do that, to still provide services to people out there. So that's part of our platform here, is to mention that, go to their website. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to find out more information, that's careersourceclm.com. And again, the number 2 is 1-800-434-JOBS or 434-5627. So a lot of good stuff as we're rolling through it. Now it's time for one of our segments here that a lot of people are starting to like, is what happens on this day in history, as we are now within our first day of the new month of April 2020, as we're finished up with that March month, which was a little heavy. We talked about that yesterday as a little bit of reflection. A lot happened from what was the added day in February of the 29th, that being a leap year, to where we're at March 1st and carrying on through the entire month. We were aware of the Ides of March, and now that's over. We got a new month here. And with that, on this day in history of April 1st, 1933 here, that's still on a tight note, but this is history nonetheless. So on 1933, on this date, and April 1st, it says here, Nazi Germany begins the persecution of the German Jews by declaring a boycott of Jewish-owned businesses. As 1933, April 1st, was the beginning of the German Jews and their persecution, declaring a boycott of Jewish-owned businesses throughout the country itself, as it was bringing all the plans to fruition. Moving on here, 1945, on this date, April 1st, 1945, U.S. forces land in Okinawa. The United States 10th Army Command, by Lieutenant General Simon Bolivar Buckner Jr., land on Okinawa, Maine's island of the Ryukyus, the 362 miles from the Japanese home islands. The occupation of island of Okinawa was considered crucial, as there is to be an invasion of the Japanese mainland, and during the campaign, the U.S. Navy sustained greater casualties in this operation than in any other battle of the war. And it was not until about June 21st, 11 weeks later from this date, in 1945, that the main battles of the island ended. And that was in the event of the nuclear bombs that changed the military strategy. So it was on this date, April 1st, 1945, that the United States 10th Army Command and the U.S. forces land on Okinawa. Just a year later, April 1st, 1946, talking about the Pacific still, as in the United States, Hawaii earthquake and tsunami. It's in 1946, on this date, April 1st, 1946, a major undersea earthquake measuring 7.4 magnitude in the North Pacific Ocean, caused a tsunami that by the time it reached Hawaii some 2,400 miles away, and traveling at 500 miles per hour, only 4.5 hours after the quake, waves reaching 60 feet in height hit coastal areas of Hawaii, causing the deaths of 150 or more. This tsunami prompted the setting up of the U.S. to establish a seismic sea wave warning system to help in the evacuation. But any similar occurrence today would be even more devastating, as can be shown with the damage and the loss of life caused by Hurricane Katrina, where the warning was greater than 6 hours. So it was on this date, 1946, just a year after the U.S. forces had landed on Okinawa, an earthquake in Hawaii, a 7.4 magnitude. And, you know, as I think it was mentioned today, that there was the earthquake in Idaho that was brought up there on national news. And, you know, with that, it's like at times we hear of a worldwide global pandemic, the economy, the world economy on a downturn, and then you start hearing about which doesn't take a day off just because there's other stuff going on, is natural disaster in lieu of an earthquake. That can still happen. And just like here back in 1945, when we're in the midst of World War II and battling the Japanese, and here we take U.S. forces and finally land on Okinawa, yet in the midst of this than any other battle of war, it was sustained the greatest casualties in operation of any battle. And with war, then in 1946, there's an earthquake, and you can feel that at certain times, it's like, man, when it rains, it pours. However, we always seem to persevere and move through, and that's something to see. And that's where I'm going with April 1st and the idea of a new month and optimism. As last night's rain shower felt like a cleansing, man, and like I was say, that was my omen nonetheless. As all that wind and then the rain as the sun fell. And then here we are, April 1st, new month, beautiful weather. That's what we need to have, some optimism. Anyway, moving on. On this date, April 1st, 1970, check this out, cigarette advertising banned. On this date in 1970, President Richard Nixon signed into law the banning of cigarette advertising on television and on radio. So in 1970 was the turning of the tide in lieu of tobacco companies and the actual advertising of cigarettes on television and of radio. That's pretty interesting. It's April 1st, 1970. On this date, April 1st, 1999, it says here in the United States, Melissa email virus. Melissa email virus. David Smith is arrested and charged with originating the, quote, Melissa email virus, which infected more than 1 million computers worldwide and caused more than 80 million in damage. Melissa is classified as a computer worm. The Melissa email virus is a computer worm, and shut down internet mail systems that got clogged with affected emails, propagating the form from the worm. The worm, Melissa, was spread via the word processor Microsoft Word 1997 and Word 2000 through the use of an inbuilt macro in the template, and could mass email itself from email client Microsoft Outlook 97 or Outlook 98. So a little bit of a different there at the end of the millennia there, 1999, a different type of virus going around, as it affected almost $80 million in damage, was as they, on this date in history, David Smith is arrested, the guy behind who is charged with originating the email virus. And what's fascinating about that, too, is we all knew in 1999 the expectations of being told of hysteria with the Y2K bug, with the idea of how computers and the world would end on day one of the year 2000 with the Y2K. because of the date. And here, going around in 1998 through 99, was a massive email virus that shut down a lot of internet systems, costing almost $80 million in damage. Incredible. Incredible. I remember that slightly, although I don't think it affected us at all, because I don't think we had a family computer then. I think it was the next year that we got the computer. On this date, April 1st, 2008, on this date, April 1st, 2008, in the United States, Hillary Clinton compares herself to Rocky. It says, on this date in 2008, Hillary Clinton goes to Philadelphia in the Pennsylvania primary, and, quote, "Let me tell you something," she told her audience. "When it comes to finishing a fight, Rocky and I have a lot in common. I never quit. I never give up. And neither do the American people," end quote. The Pennsylvania primary temporarily revived her, so to speak, campaign. And she continued by telling that, quote, "I know what it's like to stumble. I know what it means to get knocked down, but I've never stayed down and I never will." That's kind of ironic. It is ironic, but it's interesting nonetheless that it was on this date in history in 2008 that had happened. As it did, it was one of the things that actually temporarily revived her, had revived her campaign. Kind of crazy. This was kind of neat, and this is a fun one to, so to speak, end on in this date in history. As we look towards here, this was 2009, so just over 10 years ago. That's what we'll wrap it up today. It says, on this date, April 1st, in 2009, the United States Postal Service announced its Simpsons stamps. The U.S. Postal Service said that it would be making stamps that feature the Simpsons characters Homer, Marge, Maggie, Bart, and Lisa. The first-class stamps would be available to see at USPS.com on April 9th, which is also the date in which they can be bought at the counter. But it was on this date that they announced that the Postal Service will be using Simpsons stamps. Yeah, just a cool little, like, oh, there you go. Just something neat, right? And it's a nice one to end on too, because I know some of these can kind of get heavy from time to time. Interesting. But on this date in history, April 1st, as we ran through the timeline there, so it was 1933 that began the persecution of German Jews by declaring the boycott of Jewish-owned businesses in Germany in 1933 on this date. In 1945, on this date, it was U.S. forces that landed on the island of Okinawa, which is great importance. And finally, as the United States 10th Army Command Lieutenant General Simon Bolivar Buckner, Jr., and the United States 10th Army Command landed on Okinawa. In 1946, just a year later after them landing on Okinawa, an Hawaiian earthquake of 7.4 magnitude in the North Pacific caused a tsunami that reached Hawaii. That was actually some 2,400 miles away from where that had taken place, which had caused some disaster. In 1970, on this date, we said it was President Nixon, Richard Nixon, signed into law the banning of cigarette advertising on television and radio. That's why I never saw it. It was on this date, 1999, that the Melissa email virus, the David Smith who originally created the Melissa email virus that cost almost $80 million of damage, David Smith on this date is arrested and charged with the originating of the Melissa email virus. And it was on this date, April 1st, that Hillary Clinton compared herself to Rocky to get herself some life back into the campaign that she had in 2008, only losing the nomination to, obviously, Barack Obama. And it was on this date, 2009, on a lighter note, was Simpsons stamps were moved to circulation. Not bad. So there you go, folks, on this day in history. As we move through our show here, we're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back, we'll round out some other information and keep on rolling. You're listening to 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source, WOCA Ocala. We're back after this.
Paycheck Protection Program under the CARES Act provides 100% federally guaranteed loans to small businesses. Available to businesses with fewer than 500 employees. Funds can be used towards payroll costs, rent, utilities, and interest on mortgages. Small businesses are encouraged to get, gather, and go. Get informed by visiting getgathergo.com. There you can gather the needed information and go apply as soon as the SBA program opens with local lenders. For info, visit getgathergo.com to get your business ready to apply.
Hey, this is Matt from Crossroad Auto Sales. I want to invite you to come over and check out our vehicles. All of our vehicles at Crossroad Auto Sales go through a rigorous 100-point safety inspection. We work with most outside finance companies, and we even have in-house financing available. Stop by today at 1800 Northwest 10th Street or give me a call at 690-6695. That's 690-6695. Crossroad Auto Sales. We won't leave you stranded at the crossroad.
We are proud to announce the Conservative Watch Hour on WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM every Friday at 11 a.m. Hosted by Annie Marie Delgado, President of Trump Team 2020 Florida, and her co-host Ann Vandersteel with SteelTruth.com. We are serving a higher level of excellence, and we are the only program of this type in this market. Don't miss your weekly dose of conservative talk radio. WOCA 11 a.m. Fridays, 96.3 and 1370 a.m.
Today will be mostly sunny and becoming less humid throughout the day with a high 78 to 84. For tonight, it will be clear, low 52 to 61. Then for tomorrow, a full day of sunshine. Thursday's high 81 to 83. And a clear night, low 54 to 58. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Kevin Snyder.
I'm Jan from Palm Garden. The well-being and safety of our residents is our top priority and at the heart of every decision we make. There are no visitors permitted in our center, but family members are encouraged to reach out by phone or Skype, Facebook or FaceTime. Everyone is screened daily and wears a mask. New guests are tested and quarantined for 14 days. The response to these measures has been overwhelmingly positive. Thank you for your support and partnership. We are Palm Garden.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Listening to AM Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, 96.3 FM. We're back here, and I've got Joe at the end of the table. Good morning, Joe.
Morning, Adam. How are you today? You're a busy morning.
A little bit busy morning. Pretty good.
Informative morning.
Yeah, not too bad.
And that's why our listeners like to tune in.
Yeah.
We've got all kinds of information. You never know who's coming in, especially with Robert Cohen.
Yeah.
That was with the swimming pool and everything. Oh, my.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I knew they were putting it in, but I didn't know it was going to be Olympic quality.
Oh, yeah. And that's the cool thing about it. That was the nice little change. That's some optimism to look forward to, something later on in the county that we can think, hey, in a couple years where we're going to be, heck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is a bump in the road. Someone put it on Facebook. 1820, 1920, 2020, all these different years, different catastrophes have happened, And so, was this a coincidence?
No. On the 20s?
On the 20s. It could be 24. It could be everything happening.
Well, you made it sound like, oh, my goodness. So what does that mean for 2030?
That's what they did.
Gotcha.
In other words, they put it when it said 2020, 16, 20, 17, 20, 18. So it was like, yeah, okay, right, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's just a date.
Yeah.
Everything's happened at a date. Someone who was born, someone died, someone had a birthday. It's just a date. So
we just finished up our segment on this date in history, as it was April 1st. Today's April Fool's Day.
It is.
Which I wasn't surprised to see you. You fool.
Thank you. It's my day. Yeah, I've had April Fool's Day. I will not make any contracts. I will not do any kind of financial decisions on April Fool's Day. It's just a bad luck day for me.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. I was selling a home once on April Fool's Day, and 3 offers came in. One was cash, and the other 2 were banks, and they all fell through.
Is that right?
So I said, no more. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm superstitious. That's fine,
Yeah.
Hey, there's a Mr. Tent Man going out with his tent again.
So you're not a lot stitious. You're superstitious.
I am superstitious.
Not a little
medium.
bit, not a lot.
Not medium. I'm
Superstitious.
There's a cat. Okay, well, the cats don't bother me. Ladders don't bother me.
No.
Walk on a crack, no, that don't bother me. But
What about?
but I have a rabbit foot somewhere.
What about the phrase "knock on wood"? Do you use that?
It hurts my head a lot, but yeah, I do.
I use that one a lot.
use
And
that.
knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
And
yeah.
that
I go. Huh? What? Yeah, exactly. For those who can't see me, what I was doing, I was knocking on my head, and you could hear that, but it wasn't me knocking on my head, really.
And for those who thought it sounded hollow and empty, they're not far off.
They're not far off. Not today. Not today. That's 2 insults. You go to the third one, and then I attack. So there
It's
you go.
April Fool's Day. I'm just fooling around with you.
No, you're not. All right. So anyway, I have this gentleman from North Carolina. He sends me these little goodies now and then.
Yeah.
And should I do it after the break?
I was going to say, give us a little teaser, and we'll do it after the break as
Well,
we're coming to
this
the
is-
bottom of the 10 o'clock.
Well, I'll tell you the title of this one.
There you go.
It's God's Plan for Aging.
Oh,
So, and it's a little ditty, and then we have a little thing after that. So,
yeah. God's plan for aging.
God's
Florida's a start.
that's God's place for aging. The ancient ones can live here, and
Now-
the wild ancient ones live in the villages.
Now, this is your
My opinion.
This is your friend from North Carolina, you said? Yeah.
He was. He's known as Little Joe,
Yeah.
and he. I met him when I used to do karaoke up there every single Thursday.
Yeah.
I ran the show. I've got like 30,000 song karaoke and what have you. But back then they used to bring the discs, so I had a machine.
Oh, wow.
That we used the disc, and he would say they would come up and say, cut number 14 down 2 or up 3, depending the range. And my equipment did all that, so
Yeah.
But they would come in with thetheir cases, and he would drive.
Yeah.
He would drive 25 miles one way just to be with me to do it, and then drive home. And we had a few people like that. That's because it was family, no dirt, no profanity. It was all clean. Anyway, Little Joe, and he used to sing, and that's how I met him. And we'll tell you the story when we come back after this break.
You got it. WOCA Ocala. We'll be back right after this.
Fox News. I'm Chris Foster. President Trump says it's going to be a really tough 2 weeks. Coronavirus deaths in the U.S. jumped more than 1,000 in the last 24 hours to more than 4,000 now, surpassing the number reported in China where the outbreak started.
Health officials say coronavirus could claim 100 to 240,000 lives in the U.S. Dr. Anthony Fauci with the National Institutes of Health emphasizing
it's something we need to anticipate, but all of us want to do much, much better than that.
President Trump called on Americans to continue social distancing.
We really have to do what we all know is right.
Dr. Fauci said the death projections would be higher without mitigation efforts in place.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland, Washington, D.C. Stay-at-home orders in